What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and there's been some interesting little nuggets of information that have rolled out in the days after Dave Chappelle's monologue for Saturday Night Live, a monologue that ruffled a lot of feathers, but to me was pretty middle of the road. I think people are being extraordinarily sensitive, in particular around any jokes that involve anything even tangentially related to Jewish people, even if they seem to be lighthearted, or it just seems like everyone's gotten extremely sensitive about it. Now, there are really people out there who just hate people for being Jewish, and I think that that's stupid. I think hating anybody for how they're born or whatever their religion is just bad in general. But I also think that there is nobody who's above a joke, and that includes trans people, that includes Jewish people, that includes white people, that includes black people. Everybody should be equal, fair game for jokes. I don't think anyone is above that. But the media seems to pick and choose who they think is above it. Well, there's a little secret revealed that about Dave Chappelle's monologue this morning that I think is pretty interesting. And we're going to get into that after a super quick word from this video sponsor. Huge shout out to this video sponsor, Kamikoto. That's right, Kamikoto makes Japanese steel kitchen knives using traditional techniques from Japan. Over 800 years of Japanese technology and expertise have gone into creating the steel that this knife has been meticulously handcrafted from, using techniques that date all the way back to the Edo period of Japan. Kamikoto only uses steel sourced from mills in Japan. Each knife comes in a beautiful, heavy-duty wood box. It makes sure that the knife is stored safely. Each knife is individually inspected and comes with a lifetime guarantee. These are knives that I personally own and use. I got a set through this promotion. Over Christmas, I used it to cut a beautiful brisket that I had made for the holidays, and cut ham and turkey and all sorts of things. Not only did it work flawlessly, but it was a talking point at the table. The knives felt like the perfect weight. They were perfectly balanced. And on top of all of this, just for you, my subscribers, you guys can get an additional $50 off any purchase you make with discount code TheQuartering. So click the link below and go to kamikoto.com/thequartering and use promo code TheQuartering to save an extra $50 today. Now, new stories coming out. Dave Chappelle tricked SNL producers by giving them a fake monologue during dress rehearsal. The edgy monologue about Kanye West was kept secret for the live show. Chappelle was blasted for desensitizing Americans to anti-Semitism after he told a number of jokes relating to Jewish power interests in Hollywood and, well, the media. Although the comedian opened his monologue by saying, "I denounce anti-Semitism in all forms. I stand with my friends in the Jewish community," he proceeded to riff on the double standards of how scrutiny of Jewish people is treated differently to other ethnic groups. Well, it is. I mean, it just is. Is that weird to say that? Like, I've asked because I've even openly said this before. Like, I don't even understand what a Jewish person even is. I thought it was just somebody who's Jewish by religion. I don't even that's how little I care. Yeah, it's since been explained to me by Jewish friends of mine that, whatever. But like, that's how little most people actually care about this stuff. Okay. But once you start saying, well, you can't make jokes about them, well, why? It's like you end up, a lot of people who believe in, let's say, some of the tropes. Do you think that does more or less to convince them whether they're true or not? He wrote, quote, "I learned there are two words in the English language that you should never say together in a sentence, and those words are the and Jews," joked Chappelle, before noting that everything was a game of perception. If they're black, it's a gang. If they're Italian, it's a mob. If they're Jewish, it's a coincidence, and you should never speak about it. I don't really know. He's not necessarily wrong there, right? He also noted how Kyrie Irving had been given an absurdly long list of things to do, apologized by the NBA before asserting that the persecution of Jews couldn't be blamed on black Americans. "I've been to Hollywood, and this is just what I saw. It's a lot of Jews. Like, a lot," Chappelle added. But that doesn't mean anything. There's a lot of black people in Ferguson, Missouri. Doesn't mean they run the place. Suggesting that it's not a crazy thing to think that, suggesting that, quote, it's not a crazy thing to think that Jewish people run show business, Chappelle joked, but it's a crazy thing to say out loud in a climate like this. Fair. Like there's, everybody is hypersensitive to everything. And, it's like when I talk about any kinds of like racism, I think to deny that actual racists exist is not productive. But I also think it's equally unproductive, in fact, worse, to make every situation look at everything from the worst possible scenario. Like ascribe malice when maybe somebody just misspoke, or maybe just as somebody is not maybe somebody's just not super educated on it, or maybe somebody just had a bad experience and they've let that color their opinions, and they're worth saving. I've said what the NBA did to Kyrie Irving was not punish him. It was emasculate him. It was to embarrass him. It was to beat him down. It was to break him as a man. Does anybody disagree with that? When you're saying Kyrie Irving, a man who makes $50 million a year, $40 million a year, he says, he goes, I apologize for the people that I hurt and blah, blah, blah. Then the NBA comes back and says, no. You have to say specifically, I am sorry. And then there was a list of 6 or 7 things. It was pathetic. And again, I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong, but what I am saying is, do you think that furthers do you think that changes his opinion about a group of people, or do you think that it enforces it? It'd be like somebody, I don't even need to give an example. It's a perfect example. And I think I'd be sloppy because I record everything off the cuff, so it'd probably be a bad example. But the fact that you punished him so severely and you broke him as a man and you try to take away his masculinity is probably not making him love Jewish people more. Is that crazy to say? It seems crazy to say it out loud, but it's just not. You get enlightenment through education, not through beatings. Public floggings, essentially, is what they did to the man. And I don't agree with what he did or said or the movie. Okay? I'm just a human looking at how they did another human. How they punished him. It was shocking to see. And you started to see even members of the media start to come around, even like Shannon Sharp, who's this kind of a woke media type, former tight end for a Hall of Fame tight end. But he was like, yo, come on, this is enough. He said and all this for sharing a link. It wasn't like he said something or he went on some sort of. Anyway, the Daily Beast immediately accused Chappelle of echoing Ye's anti-Semitism, while the ADL Jonathan Greenblatt asked, why are Jewish sensitivities denied or diminished at almost every turn? They're not. Look what they did to Kyrie Irving. Look what they did to Kanye West. They took everything from him. What do you mean dismissed? And honestly, if you're just sensitive about it, I don't care. As a white guy, as a generic white guy, I've had to endure jokes at my expense for the past 5 years in mainstream media. You don't see me asking people to be sued or to lose their livelihoods. Some things are okay to joke about. It's not like Chappelle is up there saying horrible things. So when you react like this, when you overreact, you do more harm than good. It has now been revealed that Chappelle had to slip the monologue past the SNL producers, suggesting he feared they'd censor it by giving them a fake alternative during the show's dress rehearsal and then performing the real monologue during the live show. Quote, Dave does a fake monologue during the dress rehearsal because he doesn't want the SNL creator or anyone else to know what his real monologue is, a source told the New York Post. During dress rehearsal, Chappelle also apparently told a joke about an SNL writer who refused to work with him on the show due to being offended over the comedian's previous phobic jokes. As Chris Menahan wrote, Sarah Silverman joking about ending our Lord and Savior Jesus is just good, clean fun, but Chappelle jokes are hate and anti-Semitism. Yeah? I mean, right? I, I think, by the way, both jokes should be allowed. Okay. Then Jerry Seinfeld, on Dave Chappelle. So they go to then the prominent Jewish comedians, which was or Jerry Seinfeld, and then it was some other Jewish guy. Was it Jon Stewart? Is he Jewish? I don't know. I know Seinfeld is. But like, and they both defended him basically. Jerry Seinfeld on Chappelle, SNL monologue. I think the subject matter calls for a conversation. I mean, Seinfeld made loads of Jew jokes. Loads. In fact, like, his parents were like the stereotypical, you know what I mean? Like, what do you mean? He's shilling his book, essentially, and then he says, a true comic doesn't really care about anything else but getting the laugh. Everything else in human life feels artificial and pointless. There was an interesting exchange in the book where you talk to Dave Chappelle about how Chris Rock has a real edge, and he speaks in pronouncements. You referred to his delivery using words like commandments and closing arguments. I really love that idea that comedians have to take regular thoughts and make them more extreme. He writes, oh yeah, for that, for sure. In fact, the dumber the idea you're presenting, the more fun it is. I think when it starts to become real, or it starts to become, this might be an actual relevant thing, the fun is gone. I think that when he talks about Chappelle, the comedians know that you have to make people uncomfortable. And Chappelle knows exactly what he's doing as well. Like, Chappelle knows that he can say a few throwaway line jokes and get all the headlines, Like, there's just, you see, I was watching Jon Stewart on Colbert, two of my favorite comedians, debate the Dave Chappelle SNL monologue. I'm curious what you think. Quote, I did think the comedy was well executed, but I think the subject matter calls for a conversation that I don't think I want to have in this venue. Okay, so he looks like he was maybe a little offended. I don't know. It's all jokes to me. And I don't think, well, at least any of my viewers who happen to be Jewish probably get offended about Jewish jokes. Like, people who are really racist, they're a problem, but like, jokes are whatever. Nobody's above jokes. I don't care who you are. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure you leave a like on it, and we'll talk to you again real soon.